Every single day, billions of people wake up with the same goal: to earn money. We spend it on food, homes, clothes, entertainment, and almost everything we need to survive. But have you ever stopped to ask a simple question? Who invented money? To answer that question, we have to travel back to a time when money didn't exist at all. Around 300,000 years ago, our ancestors lived in small groups of hunters and gatherers. They didn't have coins, paper bills, or banks. In fact, they didn't need them. If someone hunted a deer, everyone in the group shared the meat. If another person gathered berries or built tools, those skills benefited the entire community. Survival depended on cooperation, not wealth. In these small tribes, trust was far more valuable than money. Everything changed around 12,000 years ago with one revolutionary discovery: farming. Instead of constantly moving from place to place, humans began settling in permanent villages. They grew crops, raised animals, and produced more food than they immediately needed. As villages expanded, people no longer had to do every job themselves. Some became farmers, others became potters, blacksmiths, fishermen, or carpenters. This specialization made life more efficient, but it also created a new problem. If a farmer wanted a new clay pot, how would they pay the potter? The simplest solution was barter. Bartering meant exchanging one good directly for another. A farmer might trade a bag of wheat for a basket of fish, while a shepherd could exchange a sheep for several handmade tools. At first, this system worked well because communities were small and people knew each other. But as trade grew, barter revealed a serious weakness. Imagine you own chickens and want a pair of shoes. You find a shoemaker, but there's one problem. The shoemaker doesn't need chickens. He needs wood to repair his house. Now you must find someone who wants chickens and is willing to trade you wood before you can finally exchange the wood for shoes. A simple purchase suddenly becomes a complicated chain of trades. Economists call this the double coincidence of wants. For barter to work, both people had to want exactly what the other was offering at the same time. As civilizations became larger, this system became increasingly inefficient. People needed something everyone would accept. Instead of trading goods directly, societies began using valuable objects as a medium of exchange. Interestingly, different cultures chose completely different items. In many parts of Africa and Asia, beautiful cowrie shells became a popular form of money. They were durable, easy to carry, and difficult to counterfeit. In ancient Ethiopia, blocks of salt were so valuable that they were used like currency. On the Pacific island of Yap, people created one of the strangest forms of money in history. They carved enormous circular stone discs, some weighing several tons. These giant stones were so heavy they rarely moved. Instead, ownership changed through public agreement. Everyone simply knew who owned each stone, even though it stayed in the same place for years. It may sound strange, but in many ways it wasn't so different from modern digital banking, where ownership changes without physical cash moving from one person to another. Although these early forms of money solved many problems, they still had limitations. Shells could break, cattle could die, and salt could dissolve. As trade expanded across kingdoms, people needed something more reliable. That breakthrough came around 600 BCE in the ancient kingdom of Lydia, located in what is now Western Turkey. The Lydians produced what historians consider the world's first standardized coins. Made from a naturally occurring mixture of gold and silver called electrum, each coin had a consistent weight and was stamped with an official symbol from the kingdom. This simple stamp changed everything. People no longer needed to weigh metal or argue about its value. They trusted the ruler's seal, knowing every coin represented a guaranteed amount of precious metal. Trade became faster, easier, and more secure. The idea spread rapidly. The ancient Greeks adopted coins, followed by the Persians and the Romans. As powerful empires expanded, coins traveled with merchants across continents, connecting distant civilizations through trade. But carrying hundreds of heavy metal coins created another problem. Imagine traveling hundreds of kilometers with bags full of silver and gold. Not only were they heavy, but they also attracted thieves. Once again, people searched for a better solution. That solution appeared in China during the Tang and Song dynasties. Instead of carrying large amounts of metal, merchants began depositing their coins with trusted businesses and receiving paper certificates that represented their value. Eventually, governments recognized the advantages of this system and began issuing official paper money. For the first time in history, a simple piece of paper could buy goods. When European travelers such as Marco Polo encountered paper money in China, many found the idea difficult to believe. Yet over the following centuries, paper currency gradually spread across the world, eventually replacing many traditional coins in everyday trade. As economies continued to grow, banks became increasingly important. Instead of keeping wealth at home, people stored it in secure institutions that recorded deposits and loans. Much of the money people used existed only as numbers written in financial records. Then came another revolution. In the 20th century, credit cards allowed people to make purchases without handing over cash. Soon after, computers transformed banking forever. Money became digital. Today, when you buy something with your phone or transfer money online, no coins or paper bills change hands. In fact, the majority of the world's money now exists only as digital information. This raises an interesting question. If modern money is just numbers on a screen, does it still have value? Money only works because society trusts that others will accept it in exchange for goods and services. That trust is perhaps humanity's greatest financial invention. So who invented money? The surprising answer is, no single person did.